Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. And today's podcast is being brought to you by Franchise Times Magazine. Franchise Times is the only magazine that targets both franchisors and multi-unit franchisees and is a must-read for anyone looking to buy a franchise. You know, Don and I have been hosting franchise interviews now over 4 years and over 200 shows, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. The nice thing about hosting franchise interviews is we're frequently asked to be guests on radio shows and magazine interviews on the topics of entrepreneurship and franchising. And today you're going to get to hear an interview that we did 6 months ago on CBS Radio with Lynn Johnson on her motivational talk show. And of course the topic was entrepreneurship and franchising. And here's what we said. I think you guys will enjoy it.
Hey, did you ever think about buying a franchise? Do you think that now is the worst time to buy one? Or you're not sure whether anyone would loan you money to purchase a franchise? How does the whole thing work? Well, let's find out. We have an expert on the line, Marty McDermott.
Hi, Coach Lynn. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. It's always great to talk to you. I always feel like it's a World Talk reunion, right? We get together.
I know. We started out, guys, a very long time ago. I think we're some of the only people left, aren't we?
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? But it's just, and it seems like yesterday that we started, Lynn. You know?
It really does.
It's just incredible. But it's the success that you've had is just wonderful to watch, though. I mean, it's just incredible.
Thank you so much. And yours has been pretty fantastic. You know, Marty, just over the break, when I announced that you were going to be here talking about franchises, I got a tweet from Alice and a lot of other people, but I selected Alice's tweet.
Oh, good.
Because she says that her family has owned the same bagel shop for over 35 years.
Wow.
But now they're going to have to close because the business has slowed and their debts are too high. She wonders if setting up her own franchises could save their business. So, Marty, I know you're an expert and you host that wonderful show called Franchise Interviews on Blog Talk Radio.
That's right.
Are franchises for everyone?
Oh, great question, Lynn. It's a deep question, and definitely not. In fact, you know what? If I can quote my friend Dr. John P. Hayes, franchising is not for everyone, and it's probably not for most people. And when I say that, you know, the first time I heard that phrase, Lynn, I was a little confused because I said, if franchising isn't for everyone and it's not for most people, then who could it be for? You know, it's but franchising is really for someone who knows how to follow rules, follow systems. They're not a true entrepreneur. When I say that, sometimes franchisees get upset because they say, "What are you talking about?" I consider myself an entrepreneur. The entrepreneur is really the person that actually creates the franchise opportunity. And you know, when you're talking about franchisors or entrepreneurs, they're really, and you know this, Lynn, they're very creative people. Mm-hmm. You know, they can look at something.
I could never follow rules, Marty.
Exactly, and they could just create something out of anything. You know, franchisees, and it was funny because I was in Virginia at George Mason University on Friday talking about this topic. And one of the topics I was talking about was military being good candidates for franchises because they know how to follow a system, you know. So you really have to know how to follow a system, like to follow rules. And if you can't do that, then it's probably not for you, Lynn. So, yeah, it's always a word of caution before getting into franchising.
Now, I know that you say that there are two key factors that should be present before you consider buying a franchise. What are those factors?
Well, it depends. There's a lot of different things. I mean, one is, what do you want the franchise to do for you, Lynn? You know, for example, like I'll give you an example. I like Dunkin' Donuts. You know, I frequent Dunkin' Donuts probably several times a week. And as much as I like Dunkin' Donuts and the coffee and the donuts, I wouldn't be a good franchisee for that type of system because when you buy into a Dunkin' Donuts, you're working some pretty hefty hours.
True.
You know? So one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, what's important to you? You know, you're really taking a deep assessment. And for me, you know, my family is most important to me. So if I wasn't, you know, with my family or my son, like if he has a baseball game one day or whatever it is, I'm going to get very frustrated, even if I'm making a lot of money. So you want to ask yourself, what do you want this franchise to do for you? And what kind of system is the best match for you? There's so many choices out there today, Lynn. I mean, there's like 80 different industries franchising. Yeah, a lot of people, when they just think of franchising, they just think of food. But it's actually up to about 80 different industries. There's accounting franchises, there's advertising franchises, there's shoe repair franchises, you name it. It seems like they have it, So you really have to ask yourself, what's the best match for you?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of research. And, of course, you come down to the financials,
yes.
too. And, McDonald's, as successful as it is, it's almost a home run every single time you have a McDonald's franchise. I can't afford one, So the financial aspects are always a big factor as well. I think to go even deeper, I think you need family support. I think that's important as well. If you're married, I think you have to have that support from your husband or your wife before you get into an opportunity as well, because you're taking them along for the ride with you.
I love that you said that, Marty.
Absolutely.
Do you know what you said? You said you need the support from your husband, which would infer that a woman could easily go in and buy a franchise. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, you can see the influence my wife has on me, too, I guess. She's got me trained, Lynn, and she's a fan of your show, by the way, too, so you can tell I listen, but absolutely. But it's so true. And, speaking of women, Lynn, they really do make fantastic entrepreneurs, It's amazing. I think for the first time, I teach for Kaplan University.
Yes.
And we have, in colleges, for the first time, there's more women in college today than there are men.
And they're older as well.
They're older, So what does that say to you, is there's a lot of exciting trends that are taking place here in the United States, so.
Now, I wanted to ask you about this because I know that they just announced that even Ritz Camera is going to be closing many, many, many of their stores. And I'm kind of heartbroken about that because I'm an amateur professional photographer.
Right.
But my question is, so how do you know if the franchise that you're interested in is even going to be around in the next 5 years?
Wow, it's a great question, and nothing is ever 100% certain. I will say this, that not all franchises are created equal. And what you can do is, look at the company's track record for one. One of the things that you can look at is their franchise disclosure documents, and look at the history of the company. Some companies that just started franchising, they haven't really been around very long,
Mm-hmm.
So you're kind of taking a chance in a way. And you can look at how many franchisees they have and things like that. I think there's certain franchises that are always going to be around. I think McDonald's will always be here. They have like 33,000 units. Subway has about 33,000 units. So those ones are pretty safe. It's almost a home run every single time. So there is always that element of risk involved, even when you are buying into a franchise system.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you can look at things like the market and things like that and kind of make your own assessments, but
so, Marty, with all that you know, because I have 1 minute left, and I definitely want them to come and listen to you, because I love your show on Blog Talk Radio.
Thanks so much, Lynn.
And I want them to check out your work. It's very, very important. Are franchises still a viable option, even with this economic downturn?
Most definitely. I think, Lynn, and this is going to sound a little weird, is, one of the interesting effects of the recession I see now is some of the best offers in franchising.
Interesting.
And I've been doing this 10 years now. I'll give you a couple quick examples. Some franchisers, what they're doing is they're reducing or dropping a franchise fee for their new franchisees. Now, that's pretty significant because a franchise fee usually goes for about $30,000, $40,000. So they're waiving that. In some cases, there's 2-for-1 deals where if you buy one franchise, they'll drop the franchise fee for the second one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so it's really, and that's the effect that I've noticed from the recession is really some incredible deals. Even the landlords right now, and you've noticed there's a lot of great locations available right now.
Yes.
I think, you want to get those locations because, a great location can really overcome bad marketing, and there's going to be a lot of people kicking themselves next year. They're going to say, I should have got into that opportunity last year when they waived the franchise fee, when I could have got this killer location in this particular spot. And, landlords are sometimes more willing to give a great lease to a franchise as opposed to, let's say, Tony Subs, who's just like a regular guy.
So somewhere Tony's saying, hey!
Exactly. Tony's upset. But, so they're really getting some incredible deals right now. I think that this is the most exciting time to get into franchising. But again, to quote you, franchising isn't for everyone. It's not for most people. You do have to really do your homework. It's not guaranteed every single time. And, not all franchises are really created equal. There are some that are better than others.
Well, Marty, it's a pleasure to hear your voice and talk to you again.
It's a pleasure to hear your
and
voice, too.
where
I
can
love you,
my...
I think you're great.
Thank you. I love you, too.
Thanks, Coach Lynn.
Where can my people hear you, do business with you, and all those wonderful things?
Absolutely. Go to franchiseinterviews.com. You can hear over, I think we're up to 160 shows, Lynn, recorded up to this point. Yeah, so it really, when I say that number, I mean, it just really, it tickles my spine because I didn't think that there was going to be a market for this, or we'd find like a listening base for it. But I mean, every single month we have more listeners, just like you. So I haven't quite achieved your success yet, but someday.
Well, thank you so much, Marty, and go check him out. Franchise interviews on Blog Talk Radio. My dear old friend from World Talk Radio.
Thanks
Marty
so much,
McDermott.
Lynn. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, prosper.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Here is